Please don't shoot my son. A father who took a knife to the head and a bullet for his killer. Welcome back to the Justice and Injustice channel, where we uncover the most disturbing secrets of true crime cases. This is the sound of an impossible moment. The sound of a life-or-death decision made in a split second on a sunny Florida afternoon. In one hand, he holds a large hunting knife, the same knife he just used to stab his own father. In his heart, a rage so consuming, he is screaming threats to kill 4 small children huddled terrified inside the home. The police arrive. They draw their guns. And in that frozen frame of high-stakes violence, one man steps directly into the line of fire. Not a police negotiator, not a trained professional, but the victim, the father. This is the shocking, layered true crime story of Trevor Nieves Gonzalez, a 22-year-old man whose explosive rage nearly became a mass murder. But it is also the story of his father, the hero who suffered a stab wound to the head, then deliberately placed his own body between the police's bullet and the son who attacked him. The father's plea, captured forever on body camera footage, will chill you to the bone. Please don't shoot my son. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. The spark of rage, a broken necklace, and an escalating nightmare. The incident unfolded on a Sunday afternoon in Deltona, Florida, a place where violence like this rarely breaks the calm. The chaos began not with a grand criminal plan, but with a broken necklace. Trevor Nieves Gonzalez, 22, was reportedly drinking that morning while working in the front yard with his father. At some point, his necklace broke. It was a minor, insignificant event that sparked a disproportionate, explosive rage. According to the arrest affidavit, Nieves Gonzalez immediately began punching his father, escalating the violence from a simple disagreement into a physical assault. The father, whose name has been withheld, was punched in the face, suffering a swollen right eye. But the violence didn't stop there. Trevor Nieves Gonzalez went inside the home and armed himself with a large hunting knife. He allegedly destroyed multiple items inside the house in a terrifying display of rage. And then the violence turned lethal. The threat, "I'll kill these kids too." The father tried to intervene to stop his son's rampage. For his courage, he paid a terrible price. Trevor Nieves Gonzalez slashed the back of his father's head with the hunting knife. It was a severe stab wound. The father was bleeding, injured, but his focus immediately shifted from his own pain to the 4 children inside the home. The children, ranging in age from 2 to 11, were terrified eyewitnesses to the attack. And then, the suspect allegedly turned the knife on them, delivering the chilling, life-ending threat. "I'll kill these kids, too." At this point, the father, injured and bleeding profusely from the stab wound to his head, understood the stakes. His son was no longer simply angry. He was a ticking time bomb bent on mass murder. Volusia County Sheriff's deputies responded around 12:30 p.m. Sunday to a call about a fight in progress at a home in the 1100 block of E. Fowler Drive in Deltona. The victim called 911 and told operators that his son, Nieves Gonzalez, had just stabbed him, according to the complaint. The father blocked the door, placing his own injured body between his enraged, armed son and the 4 terrified children inside. This singular, heroic act saved 4 lives. And that is the scene the Volusia County Sheriff's Office deputies drove into. The impossible shield. Body cam footage of a father's love. Body camera footage captured the raw, intense confrontation. A deputy arrives, gun immediately drawn and aimed at the suspect holding a large, lethal hunting knife on the front lawn. But before the deputy can fire, the father, the victim of the stabbing, moves. He immediately positions his bleeding body between the armed deputy and his armed son. The shouted exchange is heartbreaking. "Deputy, sir, you need out of the fee-fing way." "Father, please don't shoot my son." "I'm not going to let you shoot my son." The father, bleeding from a stab wound delivered by the very person he was shielding, was begging the deputy to use a taser instead of a firearm. The deputy, operating under deadly force protocol, understood the gravity of the knife. "Deputy, I'm not going to shoot him if he drops the knife." It took a moment, suspended in sheer terror, but the father's desperate negotiation worked. Trevor Nieves Gonzalez eventually slammed the hunting knife down onto the ground. The father's bravery and quick thinking neutralized the deadly threat, forcing the police to de-escalate. The final act: spitting, tasing, and justice. With the lethal weapon dropped, the crisis shifted from a deadly force encounter to a simple arrest, but Trevor Nieves Gonzalez was not going quietly. As two deputies approached to cuff him, the suspect began yelling obscenities, cursing the officers, and then, in a final act of belligerent defiance, spit directly on one of the deputies. That was the line. Nieves Gonzalez allegedly spat at a police officer and yelled, "Kill me." An officer used his taser, incapacitating Nieves Gonzalez, who was then arrested. A deputy immediately deployed his taser. The suspect dropped instantly to the ground, incapacitated, and police were able to secure the handcuffs. It wasn't until Nieves Gonzalez was fully cuffed and the threat was over that his father finally admitted the extent of his own injuries. He informed the deputies, almost as an afterthought, that he had a stab wound in the back of his head. The father received medical attention for his injuries before the officers arrived, including a knife wound to the back of his neck. Despite the unbelievable trauma and betrayal, the father's devotion remained clear. After the arrest, he could be heard telling the deputies, "He's a good boy." The deputy's reply was a cold dose of reality. "I understand. However, if someone has a lethal weapon, that's deadly force. I cannot tase, I cannot go to my taser. But once he dropped the knife, that's when we de-escalated him. The charges. Accountability for an explosion of hate. Trevor Nieves Gonzalez is now in custody, facing a long list of felony charges that reflect the explosive scope of his actions. Aggravated battery with bodily harm for stabbing his father. Battery on a law enforcement officer for spitting on the deputy. Resisting an officer with violence. Aggravated assault with intent to commit a felony, 4 counts, for threatening the 4 children. Child abuse, 4 counts. He was taken to the Volusia County Jail, where he is being held on a $90,000 bond. His next court appearance is scheduled for December 4th. This case is a tragic study in the limits of parental love versus the demand for criminal justice. The father, a hero who took a knife to the head and stood in the path of a bullet, saved not only the 4 children, but also, in all likelihood, the life of his son. But the father's ultimate act of love cannot erase the crimes committed. Trevor Nieves Gonzalez's violent rage terrorized 4 children and injured the man who loved him most. His case is a chilling reminder that sometimes the greatest danger comes not from a stranger, but from the uncontrolled anger within one's own family. The father saved his son's life, but suffered a stab wound to the head. Do you believe the father was right to shield his armed son from police fire? Or should he have prioritized the safety of the deputies and the children?